Offset caught lead right outside a Florida gambling spot, and the digital streets are already connecting the dots back to that Cold War with Cardi B and Stefon Diggs. But man, the plot just thickened into cement. Word on the curb is Cardi B just dropped massive receipts on Diggs, hinting the NFL star was plotting on her ex after their toxic breakup ripped everything apart. If that tea is real, it flips the whole script, potentially dragging Diggs right into the crosshairs and setting him up for some heavy federal time. We are unpacking this whole mess because this right here is a wild curveball, and the temperature in the streets is about to hit the boiling point. Monday night, April 6th, 2026, shots rang out, hitting Offset right in the valet zone of the Seminole Hard Rock down in Hollywood, Florida. The gunplay kicked off near 7 in the evening. Seminole cops were already lurking the block and swarmed the scene in a heartbeat. They slapped cuffs on 2 suspects right there on the pavement, while medics rushed the Migos legend to Memorial Regional with wounds that thankfully would not end his story. His camp sent out the word to heavy hitters in the press like Rolling Stone, Variety, and TMZ, claiming the rapper was breathing fine under heavy medical watch. While he was strapped to a hospital bed, TMZ was already blasting the headline out to the world. Before the sun even came up, the timelines were flooded with leaked tape. That viral clip showed Offset throwing hands in a brutal scuffle with some mystery dude right before the brass started flying. Keyboard warriors and talking heads like DJ Academic started swearing. The other guy swinging in the shadows was Bronx native Lil Tjay. Street whispers said the whole brawl sparked over a $10,000 dice game debt that Offset straight up refused to settle. The rumor mill spun completely out of control, claiming the rapper was actually down $900,000 in dirty gambling loans. Neither the feds nor Offset's people co-signed any of that math, but then Lil Tjay's name got officially dragged into the mud. The Seminole police force stamped it, confirming that the Trench Kid himself, born Tioni Jaden Merritt, caught a case and got booked for his role in that Monday night melee right outside the Hard Rock Valet. But the plot twists right here. Jailhouse paperwork showed the 24-year-old was bagged Monday night on petty charges like public scrapping and driving without a valid license. Absolutely no attempted murder, 0 gun charges, just acting wild in public. They threw him in the Broward County cage on a measly $3,000 bail. His legal eagle, Dawn M. Florio, did not play games. She hit Instagram with the quick defense, stating Lil Tjay caught 0 bullets and absolutely 0 shooting charges. She called cap on the media narrative, telling the masses to check the actual paperwork before spreading fake news for likes. His representation doubled down to the Associated Press, swearing her client was not packing heat and beat every single weapons allegation the internet threw at him. He dropped that pocket change for bail and walked free by Tuesday afternoon. Once he hit the block, Jay went nuclear, labeling Offset a snitch and claiming the Atlanta Star dropped dimes on him to the cops. He straight up clowned the situation, joking that his last memory of the night was Offset, literally pointing him out to the boys in blue. Meanwhile, the detectives spun it as a standard scrap that got out of hand, letting that second dude they grabbed walk away without a single charge. The authorities admitted they were still hunting down ghosts, trying to slap names on a few more shadows who were in the mix that night. TMZ eventually leaked the first visuals of Offset post-gunfire, casually puffing smoke while rocking a hospital gown. It sent a cold chill through the culture. This blood spill happened right in the heavy shadow of November 2022, when they tragically gunned down Migos' brother Takeoff. Takeoff caught a fatal bullet in Houston at just 28 years young. That senseless tragedy put a permanent nail in the Migos' legacy. Seeing Offset strapped to a medical bed from more senseless gunplay outside another southern venue felt like a dark, repeating nightmare for hip-hop. But while the timeline was obsessing over that casino security tape and Tjay's mugshot, a whole different storm was gathering in the background. A tempest brewing for months, filled with violent promises allegedly hurled by Offset himself against a totally different target. To grasp how Stefon Diggs got dragged into this bloody mess, you have to rewind the tape back to when Cardi B and Offset's empire crumbled to dust. Offset and Cardi locked it down in Atlanta back in September 2017, kept it deep undercover, hiding the rings from the paparazzi for months. That chaotic love story brought 3 kids into the world: daughter Culture, Kiari Cephas, their boy Waveset Cephas, and baby girl Blossom Bell Cephas. If you only looked at the red carpets, they were undisputed rap royalty, shining like diamonds in front of the flashing lights. But behind closed doors, the foundation was rotting, drowning under a relentless wave of cheating scandals that kept spinning the block on their piece. Cardi finally pulled the plug in December 2023, letting the world know, and slammed him with divorce papers by the following July. She took the gloves completely off. Venting on X Spaces, she exposed how his habitual cheating, toxic lies, and mental gymnastics literally endangered her 3rd pregnancy. She painted a dark picture of starving and losing sleep, revealing her youngest weighed a fragile 5 pounds at birth due to her crushing depression. And Offset didn't even try to dodge the heavy artillery she fired at him, chopping it up in an October 2025 sit-down on the baby. This is Keke Palmer Podcast. Offset swallowed his pride and confessed that blowing up his marriage to the Bronx Queen was a nightmare he deeply regretted. He told Kiki straight up he fumbled the bag by disrespecting his wife and stepping out into the streets. When she finally walked away, he claimed he had to just eat that loss like a man. But taking an L and actually letting go are two different beasts. Once Cardi stepped out loud, proud, and with a new man, Offset's erratic moves showed he was still bleeding from the break. And the new king in Cardi's orbit just happened to be one of the biggest, flashiest offensive weapons in the NFL. Cardi B and Stefon Diggs set the internet ablaze in February 2025, kicking it together under the Miami sun for Valentine's Day. By June, they took the romance straight to the timeline, flexing couple pics and catching basketball playoff action courtside. Fast forward to November 2025, their baby touched down. Cardi's fourth, while the wide receiver just expanded his deep bench. The athlete already had half a dozen kids with 6 different mothers, a massive target the internet streets would absolutely weaponize later. This romance went 0 to 60 in pure 4K resolution, serving up flashy cultural theater that only massive heavyweights can truly deliver. You could easily catch her posted up in the luxury boxes all through the 2025 football season, repping New England. The paparazzi constantly caught them flexing everywhere from VIP sections at sold-out shows to million-dollar yachts and exclusive hardwood seats. They locked down ultimate power couple status during that 2025 Gridiron campaign, playing Ride or Die during New England's march toward Super Bowl 60. The blogs completely ate up their every move, chopping up the footage and feeding it to millions of hungry internet trolls looking for viral moments. But with every flex for the cameras, her ex was lurking on the timeline, and the streets say his mental state was completely shattering. Right when the league's mandatory spring practices kicked off, some spicy footage leaked of the new couple living their best life on a luxury boat. The former Migos star totally lost his cool, dropping salty social media subliminals, claiming the romance was just a fake promotional campaign chasing clout. Then the timeline got real dark. In a scrub tweet, he warned that if bodies dropped over disrespecting his boy, nobody should call him crazy for crashing out. That explosive internet rant was clearly triggered by a trending picture, showing his little boy rocking the exact same braided hairstyle as the superstar receiver. After dropping that massive bomb, he totally scrubbed his digital footprint and pulled the plug on all his major social media pages. That popped off in June 2025. Fast forward to November 2025 when the infant dropped, and the spurned rapper took his toxic energy to nuclear levels. He threw massive shade straight at the arrival of his ex's brand new infant by jumping on the gram and claiming the newborn as his own. He tacked on a laughing out loud before snatching the post down. The streets caught the vibe immediately. He was planting nasty seeds of paternity doubt. His public relations team quickly spun the narrative for the gossip blogs, claiming the rapper was just battling fake news that the internet blew totally out of proportion. But the Bronx powerhouse absolutely rejected that weak corporate cover-up, firing back that his relentless digital bullying had her genuinely terrified for her personal safety. In a brutal barrage of posts she later scrubbed, she exposed a dark timeline, revealing 12 solid months of non-stop emotional terrorism. One specific message cut deep, blasting the peanut gallery for treating her very real trauma like some kind of hilarious reality show entertainment. She confessed that 365 days of pure mental warfare and violent promises had her legitimately checking her rearview mirror, fearing a tragic end. The rap queen warned clout chasers will absolutely torch everything for a little shine. Then, right on cue, a controversial internet baddie stepped into the ring. That same November in 2025, timeline baddie Jordan Gore dropped nuclear receipts, exposing the Atlanta artist for allegedly recruiting her as bait to trap the superstar receiver. The leaked digital evidence showed the rapper disrespecting her heavily out of pure frustration, aggressively pressing her to give up the drop so he could locate his target. She slammed the artist in her caption, blasting him for publicly disrespecting her while secretly blowing up her line, begging for an assist to backdoor his rival. The rapper's camp immediately sprinted to the gossip outlets, doing heavy damage control, swearing the narrative was pure cap cooked up by a bitter clout chaser nursing an old grudge. His people swore the hostility had zero to do with the football star, but that flimsy defense got absolutely nuked from orbit by the ultimate industry menace, Celina Powell. This notorious instigator is basically a seasoned veteran when it comes to tearing up the rap game's messy underbelly. She built a massive platform off ruining industry reputations. And the toxic history between her and the former Migos frontman goes way back to the early days. Years ago, she pulled the ultimate scandalous stunt, faking a whole pregnancy just to chase a bag while he was still officially locking things down with the Bronx phenom. So, when the notorious clout chaser popped back up on the radar in January 2026, carrying fresh dirt on the Atlanta heavy hitter, the culture instantly called cap. But this time she brought high-definition receipts. Jumping on the mic alongside her co-host Million Millie, she exposed an insane 3-week bender. Her testimony was pure, unadulterated chaos. She revealed he blindly slid into her direct messages at 4 in the morning, immediately pocket-watching to see how thick her bankroll was. The influencer admitted linking up at the gambling tables, bringing every $100 bill she had stashed away, a stack totaling a cool $15,000. She painted a tragic picture of a man spiraling completely out of control, blowing through her entire stack without winning a single hand. Barely hours passed before his pride vanished, hitting her line to beg for another loan. What she described next was a deeply toxic cycle playing out in the shadows. The multimillionaire rapper was allegedly down so incredibly bad he forced this internet personality to foot the bill for his late-night luxury suites and ride shares. She even captured that viral clip of him knocked out in her bed, swearing she wasn't being malicious but holding on to blackmail material because he was moving like a loose cannon. The desperate dice rolling, pathetic pocket watching, and shady midnight link-ups sketched a horrifying masterpiece of a former heavyweight crashing out hard on both a financial and spiritual level. But the entire timeline stopped spinning when the podcaster casually dropped an extremely damning piece of video chat evidence. The grainy digital footage featured a voice she swore belonged to the spurned rapper, sounding deeply unhinged while promising absolute street justice on a mystery target. Even though he kept it strictly code and refused to drop the wide receiver's actual government name, the sinister audio caught him growling that if he ever cornered his ops, the outcome was going to be a pure bloodbath. When the messy host pushed for specifics, the alleged revenge fantasy turned completely horrific. She revealed on her show, the man literally promised that the second he caught the football star slipping, he was going to blow out his kneecaps, snatch his dignity, and empty his pockets clean. That audio hit the rap game and the athletic arena like a seismic wave. The leaked chatter from Offset, snared and blasted by Red Media out on the Bird app, had him spitting, "If I cross paths with homeboy and I can corner him, it's going completely left. We talking a severe beatdown, taking his dignity, giving him a hot joint, the whole nine." Powell, dropping Diggs' name in the mix, flipped that audio from regular tough talk to a cold-blooded, calculated plot, and she kept applying pressure. She spilled that Cardi actually holds a legal stay-away paper on him, meaning he's totally blocked from speaking straight to his offspring. Word on the street is he was forced to route his fatherly check-ins through his other little girl, Culture, flipping those innocent chats into covert missions to peep Cardi's moves with Diggs. She even claimed he labeled Cardi and Diggs' fresh arrival an illegitimate child. Hit rewind to January 9th, 2026. Powell dropped a heavy distress signal on the gram. "If I turn up missing, point the finger at Offset. I'm exhausted from this full-grown dude pressing my line daily, keeping me paranoid over 15 stacks plus that he owes me." Boom. That right there made Cardi's previous cries for help regarding her safety hit entirely different. Those past Bird app posts about being stalked and terrified suddenly had receipts, assuming you buy into Powell's side of the street. Hate her or love her, Powell's spilled tea matched up flawlessly with the exact calendar Cardi had already put on Front Street. When Barty finally stepped up to address those leaked tapes, she played chess with her words, keeping it calculated. She let it be known. The masses are spinning an agenda, hungry for me to clap back at this newly exposed drama. But honestly, it's a whole reverse vibe. I've been screaming from the mountaintops that a certain shadow is deploying pawns to stalk my moves and pull intel on my romance. So honestly, I'm giving thanks for this new data drop, and ain't no bad blood directed toward the messenger. She left the actual street gossip floating in the gray area. 0 shots fired in Celina's direction. She basically held up the mess as Exhibit A to back the absolute truth she had been preaching from day one. That a toxic phantom was clocking overtime to wreck her zen, her security, and her love life. Chapter 5. Spinning back, casino consequences, and the massive question. Which drags us right back to the main stage. The Seminole Hard Rock, April 6th, 2026. The exact same cat who supposedly swore to give Diggs a permanent limp is currently laid out on a clinic mattress, catching a stray of his own. The web, doing what it does best, stitched the conspiracy together in record time. Comment sections immediately dug up the Powell audio drops. They resurrected those infamous Jordan Gore text receipts. They flashed back to Cardi's erased panic cries. They highlighted that sketchy Finsta update and the scrubbed tragic message. The streets essentially wrote the script live. A dude who reportedly blew seasons, drafting up grim fates for another man, wound up welcoming the block's fury right to his own front door. That's a movie-level street fable, but we gotta peel back the layers. Off the rip, the lead flying at the Hard Rock looks, from all available intel, to be born out of local static on the casino floor. 0 ties to the Diggs situation. TMZ claims he caught fire after squaring up with fellow spitter Lil Tjay. Raw Street whispers tied the trigger pulling to heavy losses at the tables and deep pockets suddenly running dry. The badges stamped it as a regular scuffle jumping off in the car pickup zone, entirely unconnected to any masterminded hit by Diggs' crew. 2. TJ's legal muscle told the Big Wire his client wasn't packing steel and dodged all heat-related charges. which simply translates to the actual trigger man remains a total ghost. Detectives are still out here actively hunting for the extra shadows playing in the mix. 3. As the ink dries on this headline, Barty hasn't dropped a single syllable regarding her ex catching that heat. Complete crickets on the timeline. The same queen who used to broadcast her whole soul, from tearing up her marriage papers to voting booths, just hit mute. Zero receipts exist, showing she even pulled up to his recovery suite. Plus, keep in mind, her and Diggs have completely called it quits. Their spark supposedly died right around the big championship game weekend in February 2026. At Super Bowl 60, she crushed the stage alongside Bad Bunny, dipped out of the arena immediately, and the pair hit the unfollow button on the gram. Adding serious salt to the wound, Diggs was caught flexing at the big game with a chick named Pre, the exact same female accused of sliding under the radar with Offset back when he had a ring on Cardi's finger. That nasty little nugget could fund a whole different documentary piece. What we're left staring at is a wild matrix of shattered bonds, dark warnings, bootleg audio drops, drowning in casino red ink, and a parking lot shootout completely wrapped in unsolved mystery. The headline begs the ultimate question. Did Cardi pull the card on Diggs for trying to wipe Offset off the map? Looking at the whole chessboard, the Powell audio, Barty's truth, the Gore texts, and the actual crime scene at the Hard Rock, the math absolutely ain't mathing to put Diggs anywhere near that actual trigger pulling. Not a single peep from the boys in blue, Offset squad, Cardi, or any real street reporter points a definitive finger at Diggs. The Grim Reaper talk in this entire circus was strictly a one-way street, launching from Offset's mouth aimed at Diggs, never the reverse. Cardi was out here flashing the bat signal for months, letting the streets know her baby daddy was crashing out hard, pressing her, pressing Diggs, pressing her whole camp, just straight tweaking. From timeline drops to stage mic checks, or the heavy street rumors pushed by Powell and Gore, she painted a brother drowning in toxic paranoia, letting his ex's new flex eat him alive. Now that same man is laid up in a Hollywood, Florida trauma unit, bouncing back from catching hot lead outside a casino spot, and it holds zero connection to Diggs. Just raw street politics popping off on that concrete, which 12 claims jumped off from a basic brawl. Quavo, the last standing Migos pillar, dropped a digital prayer on his gram, while the culture amplified that energy, bringing up Takeoff's spirit and begging the game to break this cursed loop. For Set, the marathon ahead means physical rehab, an active badge investigation, plus a messy legal split, custody battles, and money problems, screaming Mayday. For Barty, that mute button is ringing louder than a siren. Meanwhile, the wide receiver stays playing the quiet game, never giving airtime to the static or those phantom audio drops, ducking the Gore rumors and the extra noise, letting the movie play out without ever touching a mic. The timeline will keep spinning narratives, but the raw reality is already a heavy blockbuster without capping and connecting invisible dots.